Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're viewing this video. I wanted to give you guys all, and gals, all just a quick idea of what I had to go through to build this plane, to CG it, and the modifications I did to it, which, to be honest with you, not much. So let's get into it, and hopefully I can teach somebody something throughout this whole video. First thing I can talk about is the battery I'll be using on this. It is a graphene 1400mm 4-cell battery. This has a 75C discharge, so this should be able to do the job with no problem at all. Now, as you can see, there's some little bits of foam here. That is all I cut out from this plane, and I'll show you where I cut it out from. Alright, and here is the inside of the canopy where the battery goes in, and basically, I don't know if you can see this, the lighting's not very good, but I cut it here and also on the other side, and again, not very good lighting, but these were just protruding out approximately, I don't know, about a half an inch, and it wasn't allowing the battery to go all the way as far as possible to the front. By cutting that off, it probably gained again, I'm not exactly sure of the measurement, but maybe a quarter to a half inch further forward. So that was one of the, or I guess two of the places where I cut foam off of. Alright, so then I'm using a Lemon RX 7-channel DSMX receiver on this. This has stabilization, or some people might think of it as a AS3X. But the good part about this is that I can actually turn it off and on, which is great. So the other portion where I cut the foam off of, was actually, let me get a little screwdriver here. It was right here and here. That was actually in more, so I needed to have a flat platform for this gyro, so I just cut this part off. And as you can see here, I hot glued that into it because I don't want that to move. So cut here, cut there, so that this is nice and snug in there. And then I also cut a little bit off the bottom here. It already had a little bit of a groove on it already, but I wanted to have a little bit more so that I can run all my wires underneath the receiver. And that's pretty much everything I cut. So let's go over how I set up, or not set up, but how I installed this receiver here. Again, I cut a little bit of the foam off and put the hot glue, and then I put a little slit in the foam right here, you can see, just so I can run that antenna into it so that it's not on top of that foam. And I just ran it on the sides and used some white tape, so one's going one way, the other one's going the other way. So that's how that antenna is set up in there. Just a quick note on this Lemon RX stabilizer and how I set it up. Basically, because the configuration of this plane is, well, technically there's two aileron servos, but it's got a Y harness, so in a way it's only seeing it as one aileron. So the way this is set up is that it thinks that there's only one servo for the aileron and one servo for the elevator. Because this has no rudder, we don't care about that. But the way you set up for that configuration is having dip switch 4 and 5 turned on, as you can see how mine is turned on. Check the manual for other configuration, because it definitely might be different, but in this case here, for this setup, this is how you would want to do it. Now the other switches, like the one you're seeing at the bottom, let's see if I can do this, the rudder, elevator, and aileron, again, there is no rudder, so we don't care about that. These switches, if your controls are going the wrong way, if your gyro controls are going the wrong way, you switch that either on or off, and then you'll see the direction of the gyro will basically change. So that's how you fix that. Now these adjustment screws here basically tells the gyro how much gain you want. So if you turn it all the way around clockwise, you'll get the most gain. It'll be very, very, very sensitive. So in this case here, the rudder I actually just turned off because there's no rudder. And then the elevator and aileron just has a, I think it's maybe close to the minimum setting that I can put on it. So it just, when the aileron or when the gyro is activated, it moves it just a little bit, just a tiny movement. I think very similar to how like an AS3X would react. So that's how I set that up. Here's a quick peek before I close the canopy of where the battery is and how it's positioned. A little tight, but not bad at all. Still have plenty of room to take that battery on and off, so it's not a bad setup, at least for what I believe. If you're wondering what kind of glue I used to glue all the wing and everything together, I just used this. This came in one of my Hobby King kits, as they normally do. In this case, it didn't come with one, but I already had several of these, so I just used that, and it works really well. So nothing special, just the regular glue that's sent to you in some of the kits. So one of the things that I like to do with my planes is I like to put these pins on the CG point, so that way I'm not having to search for that CG, you know, because you can't feel a pen marking. So I do like to do that. What I do is I just basically cut the pin approximately about that short, and there's a whole bunch of them that I've been doing. Not that big one, that's just, I don't know why it's there, but in any case, I cut that much off, and then once I know where the CG is, I put it right on that CG point. So then once that's all set and glued on there, I don't have to look for the CG, I can feel it, and it's just an easy way for me to just check that quickly without having to have a lot of issues trying to find it. I also put foam tack on the hinges, well, the foam hinges, right in here. Put some foam tack in that. Foam tack basically is almost invisible after it dries, so it's hard to see, but I did put foam tack on those foam hinges. Alright, I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but I also made sure that the prop was balanced, and it actually was balanced right out of the box. There was nothing I had to do. Okay, one of the things they talked about is also making sure that you've got a 4mm gap between the fuse, this portion of the fuse, if I can point correctly, this part, and the back plate of the spinner. So when I checked mine, I believe it was maybe 3mm. I heard, or I saw on YouTube, that one of the reviewers said it should be more, around 4.5. I believe this one is actually just slightly bigger than that. I think it's around 5mm, I believe. Let me see. Kind of hard to do this one hand. Yeah, it's about 5mm. So all I did was I put a washer, I don't know if you can see that, right in there, and that just took it out a little bit. I think this is supposed to help the angle of attack and the way the prop is spinning, so that it doesn't want to, I think, pull up is what it was doing. So make sure you do that. Okay, lastly, I did have to add some weight to the nose of this plane, and I actually just added 2 of these. Let me put this thing right side up. Basically, this is a 1/4 ounce of weight, of lead weight, or whatever this thing is, and I put 2 of those in the front. Not 84 ounces or 84 grams. This is actually a total of, I believe, 14 grams. So I only put 14 grams or 1/2 ounce into the nose of this plane. Can't see it, but believe me, it's there. Alright, so here it is. It's set to 45 millimeters, and as you can see, she is, at least for me, I believe, looks like it's pretty well balanced. Again, I put 14 ounces on the front of the nose, right behind the prop, or right behind the spinner. I mean, right in the location where the motor would be. And she looks good. I think she's ready to rock. Right here, I just wanted to show you quickly how much I had to screw the clevis into this rod here. It was it went pretty far before I can get it so that it was completely nice and level or even with the wing. So prepare to do a lot of twisting and turning with that with these clevis after you replace the ball links. Same thing with the tail. Look at that. So I believe she's ready to rock. I did put I think the travels on this thing is slightly smaller than what is recommended. In this case here, it's saying 6 to 12 inches, 6 to 12 millimeters for the ailerons, and 6 to 10 millimeters on the elevator. I think the maximum I have on both is only 6 millimeters. So, and that's really from some of the advice that was given online. So we'll see how that works out. You know, I can definitely still increase it if needed, but you know, I think for what I'm doing for the first maiden, I think I'm gonna stick with how it is right now and hope for the best. Okay, so I think I've shared everything with everybody. Hopefully this will help somebody out, and that's it. Next step is the maiden, so hopefully that'll go well. I'd like to wish everybody a great day, a great evening, a great morning. You know, be safe out there, be good, take care of each other, and till the next time, Will Nate 35 signing out.